right.
Michael David Roberts,
Hello.
welcome to the Tiger Den.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
For the listeners out there, we went to college together.
We did.
Yeah. Monmouth College, class of 2011.
True.
Yeah. You were on the other side of the river, though. You grew up in Peoria. I grew up in East Peoria.
Yes.
Right? You went to, was it Woodruff at the time?
Yep. Woodruff High School.
Yeah. No longer here.
No longer here. Same thing as the grade school. St. Bernard's closed. Woodruff High School closed. Monmouth is still open. So
Still
that's
open
good.
for now.
For now.
Yeah. For the listeners out there, you've been in car sales. You've been primarily for like your whole career, right?
Yeah, about 14 years.
14 years in the car business. And yeah, let's just start with that. Let's dig right in, man. So
Yeah.
you've worked with Mid-Illini Auto Center for how many years now?
About 4 years.
4 years.
Mhm.
And so it's mostly used new cars, and it's over North Pekin.
Yeah, used cars, but we'll get, very late model vehicles, so almost brand new, right? So, maybe not a brand new off the showroom floor, but 2024s, very low miles, we stock everything. From
Yes.
20-year-old cars to barely used at all, right? 1 year old. So quite the variety.
In the car business, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's like 10,000 ways to skin the cat. You
At
can
least.
do a bunch of different things.
At least.
With the car sales, yes.
Yeah, that's why I love it.
Yes.
Actually. Yeah.
There's a bunch of different ways. It's kind of like real estate in a way. You can do commercial, residential. There's a bunch of things you can do, and used new. You guys have chosen to focus on essentially like almost new vehicles.
Yeah, for the most
Yes.
part. We're within, vehicles that are, a year to 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
So we don't go too old, but we will stock and have a few on hand.
Yes. And what's the reason for focusing on those? Why the niche in that sector?
There's a lot of different reasons why we try to stay a little bit younger of a vehicle. The biggest reason is because they're easier to buy, believe it or not. They're easier to finance, right? So it's easier to buy a vehicle that is younger and has lower miles now than a car that's older a lot of times for most people.
Mm-hmm.
In a finance society, where many folks are looking at a monthly payment, you can get a bank to finance a 2022 or a 2023. But a bank might not finance a 10-year-old car that has 130,000 miles on it. So
Makes sense.
for most folks, and it's easier to pay a monthly payment than to come up with $10,000 of cash all at one time, right? So the market kind of forces its hand to more later model vehicles, and it's a easier product to sell from a standpoint from the business as well. Because in a younger vehicle come a lot less problem and issues, right? So it's a good sweet spot for us and a good spot where a lot of dealers want to be in, and it is the most competitive sector as well.
It is
for all those reasons.
Give me some like stats here. Like maybe you can't give me an exact number, but like how many vehicles are in any given time on your lot, and how many are you competing with in the market? Like, give me a kind of broad brush.
Yeah, so we inventory about 100 cars at any given time. Right now, we're in a little bit of a swell. You have tax season coming up, so we're inventorying a little bit more. The goal is to sell your inventory once monthly. And what I mean by that is if we have 100, we want to sell 100, or at a minimum, at least about 80% of that number.
So about a month of inventory.
About a month of inventory, yeah. So the vehicles are depreciating assets, right? So very hard to sell something that is depreciating. You have to move quick. So we grow up and we learn, we say, hey, you drive a car off the lot, what happens? It depreciates, right? It loses all this value. Well, that's happening while cars are sitting on our lots, right? So we buy a car and that car is ever depreciating. So that's why we want to turn our inventory quickly, right? And that's why we only stock 100. So it's people say, well, if you want to sell more cars, just, stock 300 cars, stock 200 cars. And it just, unfortunately, it isn't that easy because the cars are, they're losing their value.
Unless you're a super high volume store.
Right, right. So you try to increase your float or however many vehicles you have based off of what you're selling, and it kind of creates this push-pull type of mechanism or so, right?
Yeah.
As for, the competition of what we're up against, it depends, right? So in late model vehicles, you're up against that type of car. So if I have a 2023 Chevy Traverse and I'm marketing that car, I'm up against 2022, 2023 Chevy Traverses. If I have a 2018 Nissan Altima, I'm not up against 2018 Nissan Altima. I'm up against any vehicle that may be in the $10,000 to $13,000 price range.
Makes
that
sense.
could be an Altima or Honda or whatever it may be. So how many cars I'm competing with doesn't really go dealer to dealer, but more on that car and the sector of what that car
kind of like
is.
what people are wanting to buy.
Exactly.
Because some people just say, I just want a vehicle that runs. I want it to be this price range. Give me something that's nice.
Yeah. And that's a big part of our of our business, right? So more of the individual that is looking for a car.
Yeah.
I need a car. I'm looking for an SUV, as opposed to I want a 2023 Chevy Traverse.
Yes.
Right? Because a 2023, the person who's looking for a 2023 Chevy Traverse, they're spending more money. They are more particular in what they're looking for. They're more specific. So we will stock those vehicles, but we'll have to make sure that we're doing everything right when we buy that car.
Makes sense.
Right? That car has to be perfect. It's got to be the right color. It's got to be low miles. It's got to be all these things. Where a 2018 Altima or whatever it may be needs to be reliable.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
Right?
Just run.
And that's it.
Run and not have any problems when right off the line.
Correct. Yeah. And then the consumers are happy. Both of them. Two different ways to two different types of consumers, two different ways you look at the whole scenario. And there's 1.5 million different ways like that or different ways to market different cars and stuff like that, and who we're marketing to. And it's just different strategies, right?
Let's dive into something different. You and I talked off camera that roofing sales and car sales are very similar in the sense that I never grew up and ever thought 1 second I'd be in the roofing industry.
Right.
In the same way that you probably grew up and never thought you'd be in the car industry.
No.
Just not something, roofing, there's a saying in the roofing industry is you just kind of fall into it.
Yeah.
And it's probably true about car sales.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about this. Like people in general, one of their least favorite things to do is buy a car.
Yeah.
Because the experience can be painful and long, and you're making sure you're getting the right deal. You gotta do a bunch of research. Like, how is the experience from your perspective of being in that industry and kind of feeling the weight of the perception of your industry?
Yeah. That's a great question. I honestly believe and operate that I do everything I can to break that mold.
Yeah.
And I am fortunate enough in my position where I'm the leader of the culture of our store, and I try to make our culture do everything we can to break that mold.
What's something you guys focus on then?
Speed of delivery. My intention is to sell everybody a vehicle within 1 hour, which is something that's very different, than what most people would expect, right? They think that you got to buy, it's going to take 3-4 hours. It's going to take half a day or whatever it is.
Yeah. It almost feels intentional, Mike. Like they're trying to keep you there.
That's because it is.
So that you don't leave.
Yeah, that's because it is.
Yeah, okay.
If I can...
So I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Okay.
No. The wear down factor, right?
Yeah,
slow someone down. Wear them down. Why? Because if you're 3 hours committed into something, are you really going to leave without buying? No.
Yeah, that's right. It's like you're pot committed.
You're pot committed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the poker
chips from the middle.
Fantastic. Yeah, man. Am I really going to walk away from this after wasting half of my day off? No, of course not. Exactly. Right. So it is intentional. There are many dealers that operate that way. Maybe of an old school type of mentality.
Name those people right now. No, I'm just kidding.
No, right. Yeah. Everyone that's not us, right? No, I'm teasing. But so what we try to do, and sometimes it's how quickly it goes. Generally, at our store, is relying upon the customer. Sometimes you can go too fast. An hour to buy a car is too fast for a lot of people. Sometimes we've got to be a little careful that we're not moving too fast.
It's the same thing in the solar industry, Mike, because if we sell a solar customer too fast, 99% of people have never bought solar before.
Right.
So if you rush the sale, about 2 days after they buy it, they have buyer's remorse.
Absolutely.
And they're like, what did I sign? Am I sure I'm making the right decision? So we like to do the exact opposite, which is slow down, make sure they understand every single thing. So they're committed.
Yeah.
And we have very few cancellations because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're equipped to do it both ways. We get people that here, Michael, I know I want the car. I know this, I know that. I want in and out in 30 minutes. And I said, here, if you told me 20, I'd make it happen in 20, man. And then we get folks that, hey, they're slower moving. I want to drive 3 or 4 cars.
Yep.
I want to do whatever it may be. Hey, can you go over the Carfax with me, page by page? Hey, can you tell me more about this?
Yes.
And we're equipped to do that too.
Yes.
The entire business model is not built around being efficient and going as quickly as possible. It's not like we're a restaurant turning tables as fast as we possibly can.
Yes.
But we're able to provide that for many people who now want that. Folks, what we find are getting increasingly busier and busier and busier, and people are doing things such as buying a car remote.
Yes.
More and more and more remote.
Can they do that with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, it's something that we encourage to get the process started before you even come in the door.
Yeah.
And we have people, I'm telling you, every week, we have people buy a car in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, under an hour. Yeah. And it's something that I'm, one of the things that I'm most proud of at a lot of things that we've done at our store, but to be able to streamline the process and really deliver and provide a way to buy a car quickly for folks is something that they want.
Yeah.
Because they just feel like they can't do it. And you're going to go into a dealership, you're going to spend so many hours there. And what happens is when that person spends an hour with me or with whomever, right, at our store, and they buy that car within an hour, how much time went behind that? The person's already 10 hours, 20 hours, a week in research. They've been researching and shopping and this and that. Yeah. They're at the finish line before I even meet them. Let me get you across the finish line as fast as you like.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you feel that when somebody calls you, kind of like, because you've done this so many times, that like you kind of almost can assume what they know based on what questions they ask and kind of how they approach the sale?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You can kind of like feel that this person already knows what they want.
Yeah.
They know what the price point they want. Let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah. And sometimes it's really helpful. And sometimes it's unreasonable. Right. And sometimes, there are situations where someone may know too much or feel like they know too much, and they could be creating roadblocks and headaches for themselves. Totally. And that can be a really difficult conversation to try to maneuver around. Right. Totally. We are able to, if the customer is showing their cards, we'll stick with the poker references, stuff like that. Sometimes you've got the customer that's showing their cards and they're letting you know. And that's, honestly, the best way to handle it is let me know what you're looking to accomplish here today. Yeah. And if you let me know, we can work together. If you believe that you're buying from the right place.
For sure.
And if you don't feel like you're buying from the right place, you're not here in a way. So if you're showing your cards and you tell me what you're looking to accomplish and what you want to do today, we can make that happen.
For sure.
It's something where our business, we've had to absolutely adapt just like every other business and start doing things remote. All the things that dealers don't want to do. They don't want to do things remote. They don't want to be on the phone. They don't want to negotiate over the phone, right? Like they I can't give you a trade for all those. We'll do it. We'll do it all. What do you want to do? Yeah. Give me a call. Tell me how you want to buy the car. We have no problem doing it.
I think
I'll even deliver it to you.
We just want, especially you and I are both, you're 35?
35.
I'm 35 as well. We just want the rules of the game to be understood.
Yeah.
And in the car industry for so long, the kind of rules of the game are kind of like, it's kind of a game. So it's evolving. Everything's evolving right now with like, I'm sure, the company's not doing very well, I don't think, but like, what's the massive car? I mean, you can buy cars. Carvana. Not doing very well, but that style of business is going to become more popular. I drive a Tesla. I did everything on an app. Everything. Yeah. I didn't have to literally wait in line at all. They just told me when pickup was ready and I went and showed up and picked up the car. That was it.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
It's incredible. Mm-hmm. Now for used cars, the process is different because there's so many makes and models, but things are shifting in a way that's making transactions more seamless, more efficient, faster, right? So I think the car industry is just, it's almost like they've created roadblocks on purpose sometimes. That's how it feels.
It's not almost like it. They did that. It's what it is. And it's what old school sales is.
Yes.
I have a process and you will enter and follow my process regardless of how you feel. And because I'm so stuck to my process, we will not operate and do business in any other way.
I get it.
Right. And it's very archaic. And in its simpler time, when people didn't have the distractions that they had and people weren't as capable as they are now. And people
or the information.
That's what I mean by being capable, by being able to find the information. There was a time when that could work. Yeah. And what we're finding now is that, there are processes. They are important. And we have to stick to our processes because we do have an agenda to sell you a car. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But that process has to bend to the consumer. That process has to be able to meet the consumer somewhere.
Yes.
Where they're comfortable being met instead of step 1. And for some folks, it's step 5. And for some folks, it's step 3. Mm-hmm. And that's what you've got to figure out, right? And the stores and the places that you see that are adapting to this, that are allowing the consumer to kind of take the or the customer, the consumer, kind of take the reins.
Yes,
they're the ones that are winning. They're the ones that are growing and expanding. The stores that are holding on for dear life to stick to their guns and what they know, and we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and we're not necessarily listening to the customer in the way that they want to purchase a vehicle. They're the ones that are aging out.
Totally. It's very true in roofing, because the roofing industry is old. It's been around for generations, right? The car industry is old. It's been around since Henry Ford created the Model T, So it's not like a technology widget that was just created 20 years ago. This is something that's been around for a long time. And so the businesses, like you said, are changing. We are 35 years old. We're of a different generation. And I think we understand technology. We understand how people operate nowadays. Businesses that were started 50 years ago with owners who are not necessarily with their finger on the pulse all the time, they can fall behind pretty quick. Yeah. When we disrupted the roofing industry 4 years ago, I think people kind of laughed at us in the beginning. I tell you what, Mike, I've never seen as many wrapped vehicles in the area now since we started. People are starting to catch on that, like, being forward with your marketing and branding and actually being out in the public is a good thing. Yeah. Shows you're willing to be transparent with your product and process. So I think that young people like ourselves can change industry because people will see that these guys, they're successful. They can do it. Yeah. They're doing things in a different way that people respond to.
Yeah. And I'll talk about your wrap vehicle. I'm 35 years old. And whenever I see the Tiger Mobile go by, dude, I get excited.
Yeah.
Come on. It's like, here, I saw the Wiener Mobile the other day. It's back in town. I don't know what's up with that. Yeah, here, but you're a close second. It's not that level of excitement. Seriously.
I took a picture next to that thing. I parked next to the Tiger truck and have one. Yeah. No, that's the kind of feeling, because roofing is so boring.
Oh, yeah.
Out of all the home remodel projects you can do, roofing is probably one of the last ones of excitement level.
Do you know where I don't feel like I'm at right now?
Where's that?
Yeah.
A roofing office.
A roofing office.
That's right. You're in the Tiger Den, baby.
Right. But even walking in the front door, I don't feel like I'm walking into a roofing office.
That's it, man.
And so every single person that walks in your front door feels different.
That's it.
Than when they go anywhere else.
And the similarities between car sales and roofing sales is very similar. I think it's 75% to 80% of people do not trust contractors. I'm willing to bet $100 bill that people don't trust car salesmen either.
No way.
Yeah?
No way.
So
yeah, of course. Right.
You have to break the mold.
Yeah.
You got to break them out of that and say, no, I'm just a person who lives here and want to take care of people in the neighborhood. Yeah.
I'd love to talk about that. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Please.
So how do you break that mold?
Yeah.
Right. So our industry, the automotive industry is rampant with high turnover, bad reputation, all sorts of negative connotations, whatever they are. So a lot of times you don't know who you're buying a car from. You talk and you inquire about a car. You don't know who you're buying a car from. You hear a voice and maybe hear a name, but you don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
So about 3 years ago, I tried this new strategy, and maybe part of what you were doing was a little bit of inspiration, right? So like branding, marketing, and this kind of stuff. And I started treating our salespeople as if they're insurance agents, right? So insurance agents, the way that they brand themselves and market themselves is with themselves.
Yeah.
You see the billboards and you see their face and you see this and you see the person. And the reason why they do that is to build trust. That's why they do that.
Yeah.
But if you think about in the automotive industry, how many salespeople that sell cars locally do you know based off of branding?
No, not many.
Yeah, not many.
No.
Right?
Not many, actually probably zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I did was, and I realized we have 4 salespeople, great human beings who do an excellent job. And I'm not just saying that because they're going to listen to this later. We're well invested.
You better listen.
Yeah.
You're going to be out the door, son.
That's how we rule, right? No. So, but we invest in them and their branding and they do the same thing, right? So everybody's got hashtags.
Yeah, nice.
Everybody's got their Facebook pages are going. We put them on the radio. We put them on TV, right? Or whatever it may be. And I have people that are willing to do that. And the reason why they're willing to do that is because they stand behind the product that we sell.
It's culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's really, really hard to find when it comes to automotive sales. See, a lot of people in sales in general are shameful of what they do for a living.
It's very true.
They're shameful for being in sales. You take that into car sales and that can compound.
Sales is a dirty word in a lot of people's language.
It is.
But it's, you know what I've found, Mike, in the past 4 years is that people love being sold to if it's done in the right way.
Absolutely.
They love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm in sales and I respect the trade of sales because it is a trade to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody asks me good finding questions, serves up a product that fits all my needs and does it in a way that's respectable and friendly, I will buy more and for more money from that person every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sales is not going anywhere. In the age of like AI and tech and Google and stuff like this, it's like, would we want to buy from a computer? Okay, sure. There's a certain need for that. But if I can have a really talented salesperson that I can call and they answer the phone every time and respond to my needs and answer questions, it's like, man, I love that.
Yeah.
People love that.
And what on that, one thing that happens when you allow somebody, here, let me backtrack for a second. I'm sorry. The intention to sell somebody is not to sell them once. It's to sell them twice or 3 times or 500 times.
Bingo.
But if you allow somebody who's new and fresh to your business or whatever it may be to call the shots a little bit and dictate how they are purchasing that vehicle, guess what happens the next time they come by? They're listening to you.
Yeah.
Because now they've trusted you.
That's right.
Right?
They say, is Mike here?
Exactly. Yeah. And once you have that, then it's that relationship that actually everybody wants.
And then guess what? They're going to refer their friends, their family, their cousins. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, because I believe in sales just like you just said. Sure. It's not going anywhere.
No.
I believe in the sales process.
I think
my intention is to sell you a car.
With the age of where we're living at, Mike, I think it's even more important. Absolutely. I went to Nordstrom's not too long ago. Have you been to Nordstrom's?
No.
Okay.
I mean, not any time recently.
Okay. You should go. I'm serious.
Right
Take your team.
Yeah.
Nordstrom's has they're very talented salespeople that are on commission. And you can tell they're on commission because every time you walk in, they ask you, how can I help you?
Right.
Every department that you go to, there's like 12 or 14 departments, whatever. Every time you walk in, somebody approaches you. Hey, how can I help you? You want to try something on? They'll give you good suggestions. I went and shop I like cologne and perfume for my wife. And the person was so knowledgeable about certain things and showed me she said, what do you like to smell and all these things? Served me up a couple of colognes. I'm like, this is amazing. Right. Yeah. I bought the cologne right in front of her and I made sure, I said, that's my sales rep right there to make sure she got credit. But I think in the age of where we're living in now, we crave it even more because human contact has been removed from our society.
It's a scarcity.
It is, dude. So like, I talk about this all the time with my wife. Old people, bro, my biggest fear in life is being 80 years old and having no one. Where everybody dies, and I'm just like alone. I couldn't stand that. And so like, I think as human beings, we crave contact with other people to look them in the face and make a deal. And they stand on the deal and they take care of you. It's like, that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know when I feel the most cool? Like one of the times when I got a guy for something.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I got a guy.
Dude, I got a guy.
I'll give you his number.
Yeah. Oh no, I can help you out.
He'll take
I
care
love
of
that. I love that. Right. But like, that's what a lot of people don't have anymore. We've lost it. We don't have, there is a level of, if you kind of, we can all figure it all out on our own, right? Yeah. We got Google and this and that. We lose our guys.
1 a.m. in the morning or researching.
Yeah. We lose our guys. We don't have our guys anymore, and I think that your life is easier if you have a place. Your life is a little bit easier if you have a place you can buy a car from that you trust. Yes. Your life is a little bit easier if you got a roofing guy.
Yes.
Your life is a little bit easier if you got the right barber.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And
who's your barber, by the way?
Her name is Brooke. She's fantastic.
Nice.
Shout
out Brooke.
Yeah, shout out to Brooke. Thank you. She got me yesterday or the day before.
Love it.
James, my sales manager, and I use the same lady. So
where's she from?
She's from Peoria. Yeah, so she's right on Main Street, right across from Bradley.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So she does a great job.
Nice, man.
But having that and our, I don't know if the generation behind us, what is that generation? Gen Z. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to have any guys. I think they're out of guys.
Well, this is kind of a crazy stat that I'm very interested in generations and how they operate. And it goes boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and then Gen Alpha is after that, which is my kids. Gen Z, they party less, which is an interesting thing. They get in trouble less.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie The Sandlot?
Of course.
Remember that movie? Yeah. Where his mom says go get in trouble, go scrape your knees, go do something, but you can't just sit in here and build erector sets.
Right.
And then he makes friends with all the kids in The Sandlot and they become friends. But That's, I think, what the moment we're coming onto is we're so addicted to technology that playing video games and being consciously online. I play chess online. Okay, Mike, it's one of my favorite hobbies.
Chess.com.
Chess.com. So I play on the app.
I'll add you.
And yeah, please do. And I played a guy this last week, and I made a move, and it was a blunder. He took my piece, and immediately he texted, "You should resign. You suck." Like, started just coming after me.
Yeah.
And I responded, "Why so angry? This is just chess." And he responded, "I'm sorry, man." And then we got into a conversation in this chess match. He's like, "I'm 19 years old. I'm from Ecuador or something." But think about that, 19-year-old, I'm 35. And I was like, "I'm a little bit older than you. This is just a game." And I said, "Hey, good move." Started encouraging him. We became like gentle, friends in this chat. But the point is that he was willing to just like crucify me for making this bad move.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're not touching grass and meeting people, you feel totally okay to say stuff like that. And it's not okay.
You're immortal.
Yeah.
You don't have, exactly.
I'm not going to do anything to this guy from Ecuador. Not that I even want to, but it's just the thought that he was willing to say that. I'm like, that's a cultural thing that we didn't have 30 years ago.
No.
You didn't have that.
No, because you had repercussions from the things that you said.
That's right.
And now we call them the keyboard warriors or whatever they may be, right? I mean, here I don't play video games or much anymore, but I remember we'd play Call of Duty maybe 5-6 years ago. And there's 13, 12, 14-year-olds just throwing around F-bombs like that. I mean, it's just crazy, you know, and it is different. We did some of the same types of things, but at least it was at a LAN party in our basements, and we were looking at somebody and swearing at them. You know what I mean? As opposed to
that builds a relationship.
Yeah. You can't have best friends if you didn't hate them at one point, right? Yeah. So I mean, there is that, and there are some things that are. I don't want to beat up, Gen Z.
Totally.
I don't want to beat up. Everybody grows up in the circumstances that they're in, and the times, and they change. But I do think that the communicators of the world, those that are not afraid to speak and converse and be the relayers of information, are going to have a monumental advantage moving forward.
That's right.
Because, we all talk about how we have a little bit of stage fright. I was a little nervous walking in here today, right? But the Gen Zs, petrified.
Yeah.
Beyond nervous.
Yeah.
Incapable. And I think those that are able to learn certain trades, gather education on how to communicate, I think are really going to have an advantage moving forward.
100%. You've heard the stat before, Mike, that the number one fear in the world is speaking in front of others.
Absolutely.
Speaking on stage. Yeah. More than dying.
More than death. Yeah.
It's
unreal.
It's true, and it's because you're vulnerable. Mm-hmm. You're the person with the spotlight. You're speaking to people in front of you, and you've got to say something and sound classy and professional and smart. It's difficult, and it can bring a level of fear that you've never experienced before unless you've done it. But that's the whole point of it. Is like, do it because you're scared.
Yeah,
do it because you're scared, man. That's where growth lies.
Yeah, it's responsibility behind the words that you say.
Yeah, the weight.
I say, responsibility and obligation are privileges. And when you avoid communication and you avoid certain interactions and you avoid, we call it confrontation, or you avoid whatever, I can keep going on and on and on.
Yeah.
You're deflecting responsibility.
That's right.
Behind your words.
That's right.
You're deflecting certain levels of obligation that you have as a holder of knowledge. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think you're actually withholding yourself from growth.
100%.
You're actually stuck in the same place, and unless you do something you're scared of, you're not going to grow.
Always.
Life. There's a famous quote: "Life begins outside of on the edge of your comfort zone."
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so when you do something one time and prove to yourself you can do it, guess what you can do a second time.
Yeah.
I say this to my staff all the time. If we can do it once, we can do it 10,000 times.
Yep.
Yeah. But oftentimes the first step is the most difficult, and then it becomes easier.
And once you get to the 10th time you've done it, you can't believe you ever didn't do it.
That's right.
Right.
You're like, so what was I so scared of?
Your whole perspective changed.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like you're actually in a mental prison thinking that all these people that judge you, their opinions matter.
Yeah.
I'm very adamant. I've told somebody the other day about my Facebook page, and I'm very adamant about the culture that I keep on there. If somebody starts to talk trash or comment on my stuff, they're gone.
Yeah.
And I used to not be that way. I'm like, keep it public. No. I am the controller of the arbiter of the people I want to communicate with. And if you're not on board with that, you can silently make fun of me all you want. That's fine. But if you publicly come out against me, hey, just go somewhere else. I'm not about that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be very forward with that. And that seems harsh, but it's like, no, I'm going to be the controller of the people that I associate with. And I wanted to keep it positive and keep it interactive and educational, informational, right? These things are important. And so the keyboard warrior stuff, no, I ain't got time for that.
No.
I ain't got time.
No. I totally agree. That's it, man. I totally agree. It's different. I really think I think the communicators of the world that are coming up are going to be, they're going to have a huge leg up out there.
Everybody's got a voice, man. Everybody's got a story. Yep. Speaking of which, let's go to the next page. You told me off camera before we started that you've been sober for 4 years.
Yeah, just about 4 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Tell me about it. How's it feel?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's humbling. I'm extraordinarily grateful for it. April 23rd, 2021 was the first day I didn't drink, so April 22nd, 2021 would have been my last drink. Mm-hmm. One of those things, we were kind of just hitting on this a couple of minutes ago. It feels impossible until you do it. And now you can't even fathom or imagine ever going back.
That's right.
It's a great thing. I'm fortunate for it. And it's something that I hold, near to me, and I've put at the utmost level of importance in my life.
Yeah. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your friends, have they, do you still have friends from that period of time that you've kept throughout that period? And do they make fun of you, or do they accept you and still support that part of your life?
Oh yeah. I've not lost any relationships. Not even the whole they weren't really your friends in the first place.
Yeah.
I think that society now is very open and encouraging towards people that are making positive change.
Agreed.
I think that you have a small minority of the haters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we think there's way more haters out there than there actually are.
Yeah.
Because they're just a vocal minority.
So
right?
True.
And I think that in my experience, the amount of encouragement that I got from people around me and just the immediate, just everybody rooting for me, was something that I just never expected. And my fear was that I wasn't going to be cool.
Yeah.
That I couldn't do this, or that people were going to think I was going to be weird.
Did you publicly come out and say I'm sober now, and or did you just kind of start it?
No, I just started it. This is probably, honestly, right now, 4 years later, is about as public as I've been broadcasting it. I've never put anything on Facebook or anything like that.
Right.
Those around me know, so this isn't groundbreaking or anything like that. And it's obvious by what's happened in the trajectory of my life the last 4 years that clearly something has changed, right? Yeah. Well, this is the number one factor, right? So it was severe alcohol abuse, and it was something that needed to get handled, and it got handled, and it is something that took multiple tries, such as difficult things can take multiple tries.
Yeah.
And I'm a very lucky person that for some reason on the last try it held,
kicked it,
and we continue to live and operate in this way of life that I refer to as freedom. And it's fantastic.
What's the number one either piece of advice or most positive attribute that's happened since you became sober?
The most positive thing that's happened since I've become sober, people actually, they look at me and come to me and seek me for my opinion on things and for help in their lives. And that is something that I didn't know I was living without. And now I'm very fortunate, and I've become a beacon of reason for many people. Somebody that people can rely on. I'm dependable.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many positives. I've been able to help people that have struggled with similar things or other types of addictions, or just in just other disciplinary habits, in general. And it's a very gratifying feeling.
Yeah.
And to walk the world and not feel as if you're a burden on society.
Yeah.
Is a great place to be.
For drinking specifically too, there's this weird thing where let's say you're at a party or like a restaurant with other people and everybody's drinking around you.
Yeah.
You feel like an outsider if you don't order something. Yeah. Like maybe in the beginning you felt like that. At least when I stopped drinking several months ago, and I feel that way. Yeah. Like sometimes I don't even crave the alcohol. I don't like the taste of it, but I do crave the social interaction and the social acceptance of drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend, I love my girlfriend. She's fantastic. She drinks a little bit, nothing crazy. We go out to nice dinners. This is when I feel goofy.
Same.
Man,
Same.
Yeah, I'll order okay, we'll get the steak.
Or like old fashioned.
Let's get the steak and I'll take a Diet Coke. And I'm like, that's the only time when I ever have any kind of real problem. Like I'm at Chili's, I don't care. Like anywhere, but like we go out to eat, we go somewhere nice, and I'm like, I feel like I'm embarrassing. She's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, come on, it's a little bit goofy, right? But if that's what I have to live with as the negative, that's it.
It's okay.
That's it.
It's all right.
And then everything else over here, we're good, man.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Not to mention if you go out to that nice dinner and you have a drink, let's say you didn't have a problem with it, but you just had a drink.
Yeah.
The next morning, dude, I wake up and it's headache. Alcohol has a long lasting effect. I think, especially the older we get.
Yeah.
Like if I drank something at 24, I can wake up the next morning and go again, right? 35, don't feel that way, bro. It does not feel that way.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Good
to
for
say
you.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't miss the hangovers, man.
I don't either. Yeah.
But you know what the cure for the hangover is just start in the morning and you're good to go, right? So that's the slippery slope. So we'll stay away from going down that line. But it's a great thing. I highly recommend sober living. Even if you don't got a problem, even if you don't feel like you've got a problem or anything like that, man, life is good when you're just not relying upon any kind of substance.
Totally,
like
man.
that.
Yeah, you're poisoning your body, your long-term health, your short-term health with how you think is not sharp.
No.
And so, just alcohol, I think, is going to see a decline in the next 20 years. As boomers start to pass, as our generation starts to rise up, I already know that I just saw an article that wine fields, like vineyards in California, are having to just be cut down because the wine being consumed by our generation is few and far between. Yeah. People don't like it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Alcohol is alcohol. Yeah. And you see, and it's not just the marijuana movement or whatever it is. They've done all sorts of studies. It's just society in general is kind of turning away from alcohol slowly. And maybe that'll start to rapidly happen. I don't have an agenda against alcohol. I have almost all my friends, they drink and they have great times and they manage it, and I'm happy for them. My girlfriend drinks wine. She's one of the few wine drinkers left, and she's fantastic. And it's awesome. Like, I love it. Like, my friends tell me, like, you're an alcohol pusher. I'm like, well, here, if I can't have fun, go ahead. Right. But I'm not, if anybody's having an issue or anything like that, obviously we're not crossing those lines or anything. But you just see that the majority of people now that are younger or whatever it may be, they're finding other things. And this is where, we talk about how they're in front of their screens and this social. So here, the addiction is still there. Yeah. The attachment to something is still there. Yeah. Right. And whether it be alcohol, and in our generation and the generation in front here, alcohol fell off into our generation from the generation before ours. Right. Right. And it was slowly, but it's also just being replaced by other things.
Screen time.
What is it now?
Yeah.
Screen time.
Yeah.
Screen time.
Yeah. Even just, I can't imagine younger kids growing up that see weed shops and the amount of them pop up in the area. Like, dude, that was just not a thing. And you had to buy weed from a dealer, and I never was a guy who smoked pot often at all. It was a very occasional thing in college. I never smoked weed until I was 19 years old. But if it was pushed in my face all the time from my childhood around stores, and even THC being pumped as something that's like a cure for a lot of these things, I'm very skeptical of, just because I understand the benefits of THC and there's things you can do, but I'm just skeptical of replacing alcohol with weed and saying it's so much better.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's still something you can get addicted to and have issues with. And now that it's so readily available, it's like you don't have to go to a dealer. It's like you just go on the street. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a different world now. And I do have those concerns as well. I mean, here, think about it. if you you leave here and you drive wherever you're going to go, you're going to drive 5 miles away from here. How many dispensaries and how many slot parlors are you going to pass?
A ton. Yeah. Is that a good thing?
Is that a good
for
thing?
Our 13-year-old kids, for our 10-year-old kids? I
don't have any kids. I can't tell you if it is or not. Right? Yeah, in the future maybe.
But think about that.
But do I believe it is? No.
Yeah.
But who do I think is worse for?
Yeah.
The 35-year-olds.
Yeah.
The 30-year-olds.
Accessible.
The 24-year-old who's finally found a little bit of money and has a decent job out of school.
Totally.
He owes $50,000 in student loans if he's lucky, but he's living paycheck to paycheck because he's dumping his money in the slot machine that he's been waiting to be able to go play for however many years.
It's the over-glorification. If you watch a football game, how many commercials do you see for gambling?
Yeah.
So
Non-stop.
many. And I've heard that there's a massive spike in gambling addicts in early 20-somethings. And they're I mean, this is high school and college kids, even high school kids that can't gamble yet are getting onto these apps and betting money and doing parlays and stuff. And by the way, like the take rate of those wins is few and far between. You lose a lot of the time. Like a very small percentage actually cash out and win positive money.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't want to say you can't win.
Yeah.
Because I guess I'm sure you could win.
Sure.
But the vast majority, 98%-ish.
They couldn't afford the commercials if they weren't winning.
Yeah.
No.
So here, I've got the app on my phone.
Yeah.
You have fun every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
But again, all things in moderation, they say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let's move on to your not to get too personal. You said you have a girlfriend. How long you guys been dating for?
Just about 6 months.
6 months?
5 months.
5 months.
Yep.
And how's that experience going? You're 35 years old. She's around your same age, or is she? Yeah. And so dating in your 30s versus dating in your 20s, big difference?
So much better.
Yeah.
So much better.
You know yourself more. You know them more. You know what to look for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You know who you are.
Yeah.
You know what you want. You know what you're looking for. You meet somebody who's had some experiences of things that went wrong. You personally have experiences of things that went wrong, and you know what not to do. You've learned, just like in anything else, right?
Yeah.
So it seems to be a better and easy, not easier, but a less heartache. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Less heartache.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing.
Yeah. I agree. I personally love, I think marriage is talked about in a very downplayed way. A lot of time in our culture, like marriage is bad, all these things, which marriage is very difficult. However, marriage is a beautiful thing if done right. If you have two people who can agree on things and two people can generally get along and can work life together, two is better than one.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm just getting sharper as I know my wife better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know about kids, but I definitely want to get married.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. I've never been married.
Have kids.
Yeah.
Have a bunch.
I love that. Kids are probably
incredible.
We'll see what happens, right? But
it's one of those things where once you have kids, you don't know how you live without them.
Yeah.
Like my kids just teach me so much about how to be a human being and how to be a good man.
Yeah.
And how to have responsibility.
Gentle reminders daily.
Dude, I think that responsibility is a good, like back to what you said, responsibility is a good thing.
Absolutely.
And it carves you. So even being an entrepreneur and having employees and having people who count on you, being dependable, it's not like I can just not show up for a week and expect everything to go okay. No, you got to show up every day. And so there's an amount of pressure, and people like, I feel like when I watch videos of people, sometimes they're like, I just want to travel the world and not have any pressure and all that stuff. That's not life.
No.
Life is kind of hard, and actually using the circumstances of your life to help carve you is a very beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When do high level people retire?
Never.
Yeah. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's never. Right.
Yeah.
And so you're, I want to travel the world and do this and that. You can't do that without responsibility. You get in trouble. You know what I mean? Eventually it runs, you maybe do it for a short period of time, but eventually it loses its luster, right? All the great things in life are things that you work hard for.
Yeah.
Right. And you work hard for your kids or work hard for your employees and vice versa. And you get that reciprocating relationship, and great things come of that.
A topic I'm interested in, Mike, is like for young kids. I think there's a massive gap with. I'm thinking of myself as a 22-year-old, and the internet was not as popular as it is today, but the internet was around when we were 22.
But the internet was real when we were 22.
Yeah, yeah.
So you used to. So real quick, I'm gonna jump in, and I'm sorry to do that.
Sure.
But you used to go onto the internet and search for things and try to find things. Now you go onto the internet and things find you.
Push towards you. Yeah.
Isn't it weird?
It is weird.
That's just a quick side note.
Yeah.
Just want to throw that in there.
I agree.
That's the difference between
9/11,
when we were 20.
job or?
Yeah. No. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Yeah. I lived in New York for 6 years. I got to be careful, right?
I love New York.
What was I going to say? Yeah. So it's one of those, the internet's very different. Maybe it was the same popularity, but it's very different the way we scan the internet now versus what we used to. But anyways, I didn't mean to jump in on you.
No, I want you to speak to a perceived 22-year-old that just graduated college.
Yeah.
And they're like, I've got the whole world ahead of me.
Yeah.
Job market's difficult. What the heck do I do? So I want you to think about how you were when you were 22, you're now 35, kind of life lessons to give a 22-year-old that's come out of school that wants to pursue a career of excellence.
Yeah. The first thing that I would recommend to anybody is find the first job that's available that will pay your bills.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to make enough money first and foremost.
Right.
And then get really good at it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. Get really good at it. Because Ben, I'm sure if you've learned, if you can get good at something, skills, if you can get good at something, a lot of those skills can be used in different sectors, in different areas, and different jobs, and different whatever.
That's right.
So
adaptable to anything.
What I see and what I believe happens to a lot of our youth, and what happened to me was, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to try that out. I'm going to try this out. And you make kind of enough money to pay your bills, your student loans back, or whatever it is. But then you end up wasting 3, 4, 5 years. And then you said, well, I've gained some life experience. Oh, life experience is worth something.
What are you top 10% in the world at?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And do you know what it takes to get to the top 10% in the world of something?
A lot of time.
Yeah. But not as much as people think. Because a lot of people aren't focused, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, it doesn't matter. I think we get in this situation where we put a lot of pressure on our youth and we say, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Got to be a millionaire by 28.
Yeah. What do you want to be? Yeah, right? Because they're watching all this stuff on TikTok or whatever it is. Yeah, I got it. Man, we set the barometer insanely high, right?
So true.
So like, and we're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a doctor. I want to be this. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. But we know what a better answer is? I want to be successful. Give me that guy that sits here, or that young person that goes, I want to be successful. How are you going to do it? By any means necessary. What does that mean? No, right? Let me get out of college. I'm going to owe money. I'm going to maybe try to follow the career path that I was going into, whatever that was, right? Eventually, you have to start making money to pay bills.
Yeah.
Most right now, and at our time too, because we came out of college and it was a different time in the world.
It was a bad marketplace.
It was a bad marketplace, 2011, 2012. There's a reason why I'm not a high school teacher today, right? And, so you come out and you can't be too picky. You take something that's close, something that you can be okay with and tolerate, but get really good at it. Put effort into it. Surround yourself, immerse yourself in it, and see what happens, right? Don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't become the expert on cars. Become the expert on sales.
Yeah.
Right? Don't become the expert on roofs. Become the expert on the sales process.
How to communicate.
And what that all entails.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that if people can do that, then they're putting themselves a leg up.
I think it comes back to one thing you hit on is just stick to something.
Yeah.
Don't be job hopping every 4 or 6 months. When new guys show up here and they ask like, how do I become successful? I want to drive a nice car. I want to have a good family. I want to have a disposable income. Okay, cool. I can teach you anything about the roofing industry and how to sell stuff. That's no problem. Are you going to be willing to communicate and to stick with this when it gets hard?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Because it's going to get hard pretty quick.
Yep.
So can you stick by me through those times and I can pull you through it?
Yeah.
Or are you going to quit? So in the microwave generations that we've generally grown up with, it's like you have to find people that are willing to stick through crap. And it's hard to find good people like that.
Yeah. And it's you have to work harder when it's harder. Yeah. It's a crazy concept, right? So like when things get tougher, marketplaces get harder, right? You have to work harder.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what happens is younger people, they'll step into a ripe industry. A ripe industry. I'm 22. I'm going to, solar, for example. I don't know, whatever. I'm just saying, man, solar's hot right now. I don't know if solar's hot right now or not, but solar's hot. I'm going to get into solar.
Yep.
And then
you're riding the tidal wave.
Do really well.
Yeah.
And then they get slapped with a little bit of adversity.
Yeah.
And then it's just a spiral.
That's right.
And you see it happen. And, we learn great habits when things are tough. We learn bad habits when things are good. Right. And sometimes we're too busy the youth especially, because booming markets are easy to get jobs in, correct? Because that market is booming, so it's easy to get jobs. So we chase that booming market.
Yes.
And when things go a little bit south, a lot of times we can go real south quick. So, and I'm all for chasing the money and chasing the booming market and going into those things, but make sure that whatever you're doing, whatever you've decided, 90% of people, or whatever the percentage is, aren't doing exactly what they thought that they would do or what their passion is or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't, but most people are relatively close. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but most people are relatively close. And if you're fortunate enough to at least be relatively close, get good at what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you have no passion and you can't, because you're literally, I know some people, they wake up, go to work every day and they're like, I can't, I don't want to get better. I don't want it. Don't do it. Be somewhere. Doesn't matter. Just somewhere you want to get better at.
Yeah.
That's what I think is most important.
I'm thankful for my first job out of college. I was a regional director for SIGAP, the fraternity that I was at Monmouth. But then my first job after that was I worked at Verizon Wireless Retail. And so retail schedule, which was like 10 to 7, 11 to 8, 9 to 7, 9 to 6, sitting in one place in a retail shop, much like car sales, for long periods of time. Customers are coming in, you're approaching them. But somebody had told me before I started the job, I think you'd be good at sales. And I was like, I took that and I kind of put it in the memory bank. And I'm like, I don't know what sales is all about, but sure, I'll try it. And I liked it. I could relate to people. And I started crafting that skill. But I also kind of looked down at the job thinking I was better than it.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I was like, when am I going to leave this place? I stayed there for 3.5 years, kind of built my foundation of sales. And the more important thing to take away from that is like, I didn't quit. I vested over 3 years at Verizon, which was nice because they have a 3-year vesting period for like 401ks and stuff. But I learned a lot on how to deal with people. Yeah. And people are everywhere in every sector of business. And if you can relate to people and you can actually talk to them and communicate well, you can do a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But build that skill set brick by brick, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, I graduated same college, same year as you.
Yep.
I didn't graduate as an excellent communicator.
Yeah, same.
It didn't happen. And I don't know that I'm an excellent communicator now. I'm a much better communicator now than I used to be, but I worked on it, you know? And the beginnings of my early 20s in the car, but I was in and out and just kind of was choppy, right? The early 20s kind of choppy. I'm trying to tell you, don't do that, right? Just stay focused on whatever you're doing. But I had that same problem. I thought I was above it.
Yes.
I got a degree. What am I doing selling cars?
Exactly.
I didn't embrace it. And if I could go back,
I should be a manager making 6 figures by now. It's like my expectations were way off.
Absolutely.
Right?
If I could go back and just be like, man, if I really would have just embraced those first couple of years, I could have pushed up the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
And here, I'm relatively young and I'm very fortunate, right? In the position, in the situation that I'm in. But man, I could have been doing this 8 years ago if I really took it more seriously.
Totally.
Right. And that's the thing. I think that we do get in these, we waste time. And we get in, we do jobs for paychecks and we don't get everything out of that job that we could. Yeah. And you can, doesn't matter where you're working, whether it be, at a fast food restaurant or at Goldman Sachs, right? There's the job, but then there's what the job can give you. And what I mean by that is, what are you going in with your blinders on every single day and just doing what you need to do? Or are you learning about what you're doing?
That's
right.
Are
you a student of the game of what you're doing?
That's right.
Are you being observant of what's happening around you? Are you mastering your job and your position? Right. And I think that if we operated more towards that, no matter how remedial we may feel the job is, or no matter how above we feel it may be, then you will just continue to propel yourself ever onward forward.
It doesn't, I just heard Pitbull.
Now we're talking 2011.
Mr. Sure. Worldwide. Yeah. But this quote is brilliant. He said, long vision, short steps. Long vision, short steps. And when you're 22 years old, you think, I'm going to be a multimillionaire by 25 because I saw a TikTok that said I can do drop shipping and make a bunch of money. Yeah. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how about you be where your feet are? Yep. Work as hard as you can to become this man that's actually chiseled and been through some crap, but fought through it. You had a story to tell.
Yeah.
My grandpa went to World War II, 18 years old, bro. 18 years old, drafted into the military. Think about that.
Yeah.
Flown over to France and literally fought in the war, got a Purple Heart because he lost his hearing by like gunfire, but came back as a 22-year-old, he was in his early 20s, got his chiropractic degree from Palmer College of Chiropractic, But think about that lifestyle. Had 8 kids, Mike, from 25 to like 45. Like the difficulty of that and the stress that he must have felt. I think about that often. I'm like, man, this guy was like a car. But if you go through war and you come back to the United States and you've got an opportunity, it's like, it can't be that hard.
No.
It can't. What I'm saying is like, you're comparing what your life is now versus almost getting your head blown off.
Yeah.
Anything is better than that. Yeah. So I think those men were just carved of a different generation because they were so battle hardened of just like, yeah, I can raise a family and have a bunch of kids.
All his buddies were doing the same thing, man.
Dude.
It's only crazy to us because it's crazy to us
Yes.
because of the time frame that we're living in,
Yes.
right? So yeah, I mean, and that comes back to the perspective that our life circumstances create the perspectives that we hold.
That's right.
Right. And our life circumstances, we're not able a lot of times to see outside of those circumstances or those perspectives unless we allow that outside influence.
That's it, bro.
Right. And that's part of the reason why I'm here today.
That's right.
Right. So
level of humility.
Absolutely.
A level of humility in your 20s. I tell these guys when sales reps show up, I have an 18-year-old come back with us here this next month. And he's 18 years old, bro. Maybe 19 this year. And I said, one thing, Clayton, just stick with the process when it gets difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I promise. I can lead you into the promised land, but you have to promise me you're going to stick with me when this gets tough and you're not making any sales, because that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I can lead you, but you've got to just follow and just stick the course. You know, don't quit. Just don't quit, and you'll win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, it's difficult.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard, right? It's hard. And there are times to quit. But normally the time to quit is before it's hard. You quit when you don't love it.
Yeah. You're checked out.
Quit when you don't love it.
You're checked out.
Don't wait until it's over.
Yeah, dude.
Don't wait until you're drowning and then you quit. Quit when you just, you know, you're not going to get everything out of it. Once you've made that decision, you got to move on.
When I was at Verizon, there was a common communication line of like the guys would talk about, and even the women there would talk about, I'm going to go start a business. I have this business idea. And none of it would ever come to fruition.
Yeah.
Because you get comfortable in your mindset of staying in these 4 walls, even though you know it's kind of like prison.
Yeah.
Right? And the skills that I gained were amazing, and the corporate understanding was great. But there was a certain point where I was like, I think I'm over this. You know, I think it's time to move on. And thankfully, a contractor actually recruited me to run a sales organization in bathroom remodels. His name was Paul Basso. Took care of his account well, educated him, reformatted his plan, all this stuff. And he recruited me to take over bathroom remodel. That's how I got into contracting. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if I was not present and was not where my feet were, I would have never saw that opportunity for what it was, and then treated him so well that he recruited me. Yeah. And then it led me to this, because had I not taken that first step, I would have never understood contracting. So in the same way, you probably got into car sales, fell into it, happenstance like that as well.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So 21 years old, 22, 2011, first job out of college selling life insurance. So
what company was it?
Western and Southern Life Insurance.
Okay.
So start selling life insurance, making a little bit of money. I go buy a car. My former youth pastor, James Pataxel, who is now one of my managers, is there, and I'm buying a car from another guy I went to high school with at the time. And there was kind of have a conversation. They're like, "How do you like selling life insurance?" I'm like, I don't. I'm just 21 and I need to pay some bills and you know, whatever's going on. So James kind of talking to me a little bit, and next thing I know, basically the life insurance thing isn't working out, and James is like, "Come sell cars." So, I don't know, man. Sell cars? All right, cool. We'll sell cars.
Try it. Yeah,
we'll try it. Yeah, I bumped my head around a little bit, and I did find some success, and. But I was erratic. I was a kid. I was having fun. We were partying and still probably running back and forth to Monmouth on weekends and stuff. You know what I mean? And, you know, so I was in and out a little bit. And it took me about 3 years to really get serious about sales and not just car sales, but sales in general. And just be like, here, I like to move people. I like to get people to do things they otherwise wouldn't. And I don't mean that in a manipulative, I guess it sounds manipulative, but it means like I like to help people make decisions that they're a little bit, absolutely, where they're a little bit nervous or timid to make. And I started having some success in actually doing that, moving people. I call it moving people. And then I just immersed myself. Man, I'm talking Facebook and I mean everything.
YouTube.
My Reddit page and YouTube and all this. I just immerse myself. I mean, it's just like, you know, the Grant Cardones, the Tony Robbins, I just totally immersed myself. And it was fantastic. Because then I wasn't a student of selling cars. I became a student of sales.
Or life.
Or whatever you want to call it. Right? Yeah. How to function, man. How to be a man, right? You know, and those types of things, and how to get what you're looking for, right? Because somewhere in your mid-20s, I think it happens to a lot of people, you realize it's you against the world.
Yeah.
You know?
There's no one coming for you.
There ain't nobody coming for you. It takes a few years of being out of the house or out of the nest. But it's somewhere in like your mid-20s, you realize it's you against the world. Yeah. And you've got to go figure it out. And that was my key. I didn't come from much. You know, I grew up in my mother and my grandmother. And my grandmother, incredibly hard working lady. My mother was a very caring mother. My grandmother worked hard, Caterpillar, 25 years. All I knew was I didn't want to do that. All I knew is I said, man, I am just not a manual labor kind of guy. I'm just not. So I need to use my brain, and I need to make sure that I'm, you know, immersing myself in something that can be, that can keep me away from the true hard work. Because, man, I don't work hard. I'm highly obliged, and I carry a lot of responsibility. But I have people that work with me and for me that work hard. I never make the claim that I work hard. Just
like hard labor.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, that's so true. In your mid-20s, there's something that happens. It's kind of like an alarm goes off, and you wake up one day and you're like, "Holy crap!" Like, that was kind of the same way for me in college. Like when I had to do my laundry for the first time. So my mom did my laundry for my entire life, and then when I went to college, I was like, I got to do my own laundry. I don't know how much detergent. I knew it like a little bit, but I'm like, I got to fold my clothes. I got to make them look presentable. Right. You have kind of those moments, but then when you're in your 20s and you're living in an apartment or a house by yourself and there's no one else around, you're like, I'll just figure it out, I suppose. But there's no one there to kind of like do it for you. Right. You just got to step in and grasp it. And it's difficult because it's a mindset shift.
Absolutely.
Of knowing that you've been taken care of your whole life. You've been kind of babied in a sense by people who have taken care of you, which is beautiful. At the same time, it's like now you get the reins and you get to make decisions and you got to get insurance. I remember buying insurance for the first time. I'm like, I'm going to call Geico. You know?
Yeah. I was selling commercials. I was selling life insurance and I didn't have life insurance. You know what I mean? It's like it's just funny, right? But something happens around that age, and you realize I talk about it being you against the world, and I don't literally mean like you're fighting for your life, but it is. We are in a society that is competitive intentionally, and if you want to do better, you literally have to be better. Be better. That's how it works. And and maybe it's not for everybody. Some people probably realize that at much younger ages, but for me, it was in my mid-20s, and I was like, oh, well, I need to get good at something. And I wish I started getting good at something a little earlier, and you can look back and think it's a waste of time and we'll chalk it up to the experience we were talking about earlier, but
you're here now.
Absolutely.
You could have taken a way different path. Yeah,
absolutely.
You could have still been drinking.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, I think about that all the time.
Jim Rohn has a quote that's, you don't have what you want because you haven't become who you need to be to obtain it.
Right.
Like you have to shift your mind to say, I can be better in all different areas.
Yep.
And I will get better if I try this. So part of this podcast is like lifelong learning for me. I'm learning so much from people like yourself and all the people I've interviewed. It's like I'm getting downloaded knowledge from people's experiences that I can use for myself. Yeah. Beautiful.
We're doing that communicating thing.
That's it. Just sitting and talking.
It's incredibly valuable. I agree. It's like gold.
Yeah. So your early 20s, got into the car industry, started working. Now you're 35, got a girlfriend of 6 months. Are you popping the question soon?
Yeah, right. No, here.
Sorry, she's watching this.
Yeah. She better be, right? So she's no. I'm incredibly interested in this one. We'll say that.
Love it.
We actually work together, which is a little bit wild, but it's a great thing, and I'm very very fortunate. And I refer to myself as a lucky man in all things, all the time. I tell people all the time, I'm one of the luckiest people you've ever met. And she further compounds that, and it's a great thing.
That's amazing. What's one of the things you've learned by being in a relationship in the past 6 months that like you've taken from, or you've learned to adapt yourself to this person since you're so interested? Like, do you find yourself shifting and changing yourself to accompany this woman?
Yeah. So here, she has children.
Okay.
I don't have children. She has children. So there's, and I've never been with somebody who had children before. So it's something that I've had to learn and adjust to. And she's incredibly patient. Yeah. And she's just wonderful in the whole situation. And I look at her all the time and like I tell her, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea. And she's like, no, I know, but you can't really mess up. I'm like, no, I can't. Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's a great thing. It's good.
My wife, we've been married for 2.5 years, and she's really never had boyfriends in a lot of ways. And we went from dating to being married. I have 2 kids from a previous relationship. And so she became a stepmom, and now we have a 6-month-old baby. So within 3 years or so, she went from being single to being a mom of 3 and married. And so it's been a tremendous change, but watching us grow together watching myself, living vicariously through myself, and like watching us become each other's best friends and support partners. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, you're watching somebody take on this responsibility with you and not judge you for it, and just like be your life partner. Yeah, it's tremendous.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah,
I'm glad. I'm glad that you, here I follow you on Facebook and stuff, so I've got a general idea of what's going on over in the Tiger household.
Dude, 4 or 5 years ago, it was, exactly.
Yeah.
It just seems like, Mike, and speak to this if you have a story, but you go through periods of life where you just feel like nothing is going right. And there's other periods where you feel like nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
And when you're in the valley of feeling like nothing can go right, it feels like you're never going to get out.
Yeah. Those are actually the only 2 places in life.
It's just here or here.
Yeah. Up or down.
Yeah.
There's no middle. People think there's middle. There's very little middle.
Yeah.
It's all momentum. Life is momentum. Right. I'm a big basketball fan.
Yeah.
I love the game of basketball is momentum. My Bradley Braves, man, last night, terrible. Came out looking great, and then the momentum swung and they couldn't get it back. Life is much of the same way. That's why there are the peaks and valleys. When things are going well, you can't, and we say like you can do no wrong. You want to know why? It's because you can't. Because you are manifesting the decisions and the choices you're making, and you're positive and you're feeling good and you've got the energy, and they can't go wrong.
Yes.
But then something goes wrong, and then things can't go right. Why? Because they can't go right, because you're not allowing them to go right.
Yeah.
You're finding ways or reasons why this isn't working or that's not happening or whatever. We are shifting that momentum. Yeah, there are life happenstances, things that occur. But generally speaking, it's like the old thing. One of the first sayings we ever learned, right, growing up is life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it, right?
It's a fact.
It's probably more like 1% and 99%.
Yeah, that's so true.
And when I was in like the pits of my alcoholism, it was the exact opposite. 99% of how I'm reacting and 1% of what was or 99% of what was happening and 1% how I was reacting. Totally. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just interesting that whole thing. But yeah, when you're stuck in the mud, I call it stuck in the mud.
Totally.
Right. And it can be a day, it can be a week, it can be longer periods of time. You want to get back to that good time. You can never get back to the good time. See, in my business right now, during COVID, right, and post-COVID, car sales, they went nuts. It got hot. I mean, the margins were incredible. People were doing incredibly well then, incredibly well. The best that the business has done in decades. And what you hear now is where things are back to normal. Not bad, back to normal. Everybody's like, how do we get back to that? How do we get back to that?
Chasing a high.
You're not getting back. It's never coming back. The only way you're going to get back to earning that income level is by doing something different to get there, because those set of circumstances don't exist anymore.
So true.
Right? But people get infatuated and we get obsessed with the up here.
Yeah.
Right? I got to get back to 100%. But don't worry about getting back to it 100%. You're at 50% right now. Get yourself a win. Go get a little win. What could that win be?
Yeah.
Get to the free throw line if you're not making shots. Right? And then you just start to build your momentum back.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
It's funny you bring up that word. I use that word with my team all the time, Mike.
Yeah.
Momentum. Is when we feel like we have momentum, I'm like, capture it
Yeah.
and do another thing right now that's going to keep on adding onto that momentum because it's
Yep.
contagious.
Yep.
It's contagious.
I call them moments of opportunity.
Yeah.
And it sounds silly, and my people are going to laugh when they hear me say that, because I talk about it all the time. Like, we're in a moment of opportunity when things are going good.
Yeah.
And what you got to be careful is in those moments is that you get everything, because we can go through good times and we don't make them great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I say, here, we're in a moment of opportunity right now, guys. That doesn't mean that you leave here on the normal day. You had a normal day, you sell a car, you go home, you feel good.
Yeah.
That's great. You sell a car every single day. When you're in a moment of opportunity and they're walking in the door for whatever reason, something's happening, we got the right inventory, the market shifted or whatever, the barometer is not 1 anymore. It's 2. And a lot of times, if you don't identify that when things are good and you take it for granted, this is the point of what I'm trying to get at, right?
Totally. And also, like, the capturing that momentum is such a important, like, it's an attitude shift where your success actually starts up here, and then you become luckier the more you dig into that. And it's not luck. It's actually just your perception of what's happening, that you're assuming something will happen in your favor.
Absolutely.
Have you ever met somebody, Mike, that's like, poor me?
Yeah.
You know, poor me.
It was me.
I used to be that guy too. And I'm like, man, this is happening. These people are doing these things and it's affecting me. No.
Yeah.
You got to kick that attitude out of your vocabulary.
Absolutely.
It's gone.
Absolutely.
Like, life is what you make it. Your perception of life is how you make it. And you have to be very careful about the words you speak and how you perceive things, because you can get luckier that way.
Yeah.
And then somebody looks at you and says, oh man, you're so lucky, you're successful, or you're so this. No, man. I'm creating this right now with the people around me, and we have this attitude that something good will come of this.
Yeah.
It's contagious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you can't become any level, and I don't think, here, I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
Right?
We're young guys,
we're scratching.
Chickens.
Yeah, we're scratching the surface. 35 is nothing.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
We're very, very young. And I say this all the time. I don't even joke around about being old. I'm like, I'm young. People are like, oh, you old man. I'm like, no. I will correct you.
Ask a 70-year-old.
My grandmother's 96.
There you go.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I'm like, no, I am young. But, we talk about this. I lost my train of thought there. But what were we
Momentum.
saying? Momentum.
And attitude and getting lucky.
You can't, it's impossible to be successful if you don't believe you can be successful.
It's
right. That simple. That's
Starts
it.
up here.
That's it.
Yeah.
You can get lucky. You can buy Bitcoin 15 years ago, forget about it, wake up 10 years later, and it's worth a bajillion dollars. But that doesn't make you successful. You know what that makes you? Rich.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are differences.
Yeah.
Success is a mindset.
It is, man.
Success is a track record, and it's a mindset.
A lifelong commitment to learning and changing yourself
Yep.
to better enhancing yourself. My uncle's a chiropractor. Okay. So, like, the body, the nervous system, central nervous system. Sickness is not the absence of, like, disease.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Healthy is not the absence of disease.
Correct. Right.
So it's not just not being sick. It's having your nerves and your neurons and your brain function on time as it's supposed to do. So chiropractic teaches that essentially, as we live daily life and as you work out and do things, your bones get out of alignment. So even though you don't feel sick, your nerves are not firing at optimum capacity. They're not like, if you think about a hose, Mike, your hose might be kinked slightly 17 different times down the line.
Right.
So chiropractic is in the mindset of making that hose straight so water can flow through it. That's your nerves and your blood flow. So even though if you don't feel sick, you don't feel like you're subluxated, you probably are. Mm-hmm. Optimizing your health is like, that's chiropractic at 101. It's so in the same way, your mindset has to be optimized. It has to be straight up here before information can come through. If this is kinked at all, you're going to see like sickness and disease start coming out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do this. And last month was better. Last quarter was better, right? These things start to flow out. Yeah. And there's consequences to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it all starts with the brain, right? It all starts with your mind.
Up top, baby.
Where you at? And we call it, in our industry, in our business, we call it step 0. What is step 0? Before you walk in the door, right? Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Is your mind clean? Are you good?
Yeah.
Are you set? Or are you hungover
Sluggish.
and your shirt's untucked and you're not ready? And if you miss that step 0,
preparation,
every other step is
dude,
worth half as much.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about sales culture for car sales specifically. You've been around the car industry for 14 years. You worked at Mid-Illini for 4.
Yep.
Before that, you worked with probably a couple other dealerships, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So I'll give you a quick rundown. So started with, without using specific names, a couple local Chevy store, was there for a few years, kind of in and out. I ended up moving to New York when I was 24 years old. So I lived in New York on Long Island, right outside of Queens, from the ages of 24 to 29. So about 6 years, 5.5, 6 years. I sold Chrysler product for the most part out there. And that's where I started to really take sales seriously. It was when I was around 25, 26, after about a year in New York, is when I just immersed myself into the game.
Is it just ultra competitive in New York? So
it's insanity. It's insanity. Yeah, it's selling cars there versus here. It's harder here than in New York, but the competition is more in New York. It's easier to sell cars in New York, well, at least in my opinion. Sorry to any New Yorker friends I have. They're like, hey, it's no way. There's more people to sell to. So it's easier to sell cars in New York than it is in Pekin. Right. It's a different, there's a magnitude of reasons. We talk about household income levels and stuff like that. Like there's a magnitude of reasons why it's easier to sell cars in bigger cities than smaller cities. But, so I did that. And that's where my career started to develop was in New York. So I got into finance. I got into sales management, different levels of sales management roles and finance roles. And then, I was kind of floundering. I was getting discouraged. I'm living in New York, Long Island. Life is expensive. And I was earning a 6-figure income, and I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I figured to myself, I'm like, there's got to be more to life than this. New York's cool, man. I tell you, from the age from 24 to 29, living in New York on Long Island, 5-minute walk away from the beach. I mean, it was like the coolest thing, right? I mean, I'm a 40-minute train ride from Manhattan. Like it was fantastic. But something happens again at some point in your life where you're like, yeah, this is just not what it is forever, right? It's not sustainable. So it's time to come back home. And I'd come back home, and my brother at the time, and I was dealing with, I was still like kind of I like to have fun. I was managing life pretty well, but I like to have fun. I go out on weekends and do this, do whatever. Sure. And my brother, who I grew up with, he was living in Tennessee at the same time, pretty much the same duration while I was in New York. It's kind of weird. We kind of left at the same time and kind of came back at the same time. So he's like, well, if you're moving back, I want to come back. And I was like, man. All right, whatever. In my heart of hearts, I was like, man, my brother shouldn't come back to Peoria. It's not a good place for him. My brother had struggled with addiction and stuff like that. So anyways, I moved back. I moved back to Peoria, and I start selling cars again. I'm kind of down, man. I'm like, this is a tough time in my life. I'm like, all right, New York's not it for me. I'm moving back home, as many of us do in Central Illinois. We leave for a little bit, we come back home, and I start selling cars at a different auto group in the area. And I was, frontline sales while I was waiting to find a job in finance. I ended up getting a job in finance, and when I say in finance, I mean auto in car sales, but in the finance aspect of car sales. Okay. And then bounced around a little bit, and then ended up at Mid-Illini. In the meantime, there, my alcoholism grew to unmanageable scenarios. Right, from 2019, 2020. A lot of things went wrong. My brother passed away. He overdosed, and amongst just other things that had occurred. And I was using certain life happenstances as my excuse for alcohol abuse. Looking back, it's easy to say that was foolish now, but when you're in the moment, that's kind of how that goes.
Sure.
So I ended up, I cut everything out, and I met Mid-Illini at like the same time, right? And it was one of those things where just the stars aligned, man. And, I met the right owners. There's 2 partners. They're fantastic, Jim and Jamie. These guys took they took a risk on me. I was a little bit of a question mark, right? Because my reputation preceded me at that time. Now my reputation precedes me, but in a little different way, right? Yeah. And we were able to find success. And I was fortunate enough that they put me in position to lead their store, and we've been able to, be successful pretty wildly successful over the last 4 years, right? So it's a great thing, and I've been able to impact people's lives in ways that I wanted to do originally as being a teacher. Yeah. I originally went to college. I wanted to be a teacher.
Same.
And I'm fortunate enough now that I get to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Only it's not high school kids, right? and they all know it. Like I tell them, like they're my students. They know it, and they They look at me like I'm their coach, or like their teacher. And it's it's an amazing thing. Very, very lucky man. Again, I can't stop saying that because it's just true.
Yeah.
So that's how, that's my 14 years in the business.
Gotcha.
How I got to where I am right now.
Since you've been a part of several different businesses in different states and different groups, like talk about sales culture in those places. Like what's some of the things that you kind of bookmark as like non-negotiables? This is what we have to do to be successful in this industry. Yeah.
So I've created with the help of my team, but what was my non-negotiable was we're going to be a team. Car sales and sales in general is very selfish in nature.
Yeah.
Individual. Me, right? You have things like, for example, split deals, right? Where salespeople will share commissions and stuff like that because, I worked them a little bit and then you talk to them the next day, whatever it is. I don't allow anything like that. My people, they work together. They'll here, I'll help you, you help me. And it was this thing that was like, it was kind of crazy at first. It's like, we don't here. I mean, but like if that guy does the work, but this guy just delivers or whatever, it's like here. And I said, it'll all work out. Or it won't. And we're going to find people that want to help other people around them and want to help each other and help the business grow. And we're going to keep searching until we find those people. Now I was very lucky that we pretty much had them, and the selflessness was there. Yeah. And now I tell you, my salespeople, they care more when they're helping somebody else's customer than their own. And it almost like drives me crazy. I'm like, gosh, like what, because they're like, well, I don't want to, Brittany or Connor or whatever, Jessica, I don't want to let Jessica down. I don't want to let Brittany down. All right. Well, that's fantastic. I love that. Right. Yeah. So, we've created a culture of team. And it really helps with a lot of things. When I was in New York, I cutthroat. Yeah. Cutthroat. Me versus you.
That's the culture in New York City too.
Oh yeah. It is. It is, it was different. And I was young enough at that time and I had enough prowess and enough courage to embrace that. And it was tough, but I would never want to operate in that kind of abrasive environment or sales environment. And fortunately, man, I think our industry is getting away from that. We have a sales trainer that we follow. He's fantastic. His name's Jonathan Dawson. I think every organization needs to have.
Is that from 10X?
What's it? No, 10X is actually Grant Cardone.
Okay. Yeah. I thought Jonathan Dawson was part of that.
No. So he's Jonathan Dawson. He's just he's psychology is what he calls his school or whatnot. But I recommend any kind of organization that has any kind of sales. You're relying upon sales. You need to have some type of outside influence. You need to have some type of trainer or something like that. Somebody in your ear. But the way that he's changing things and the way dealers and a lot of dealers around here are now picking up this. We're eliminating that. We're eliminating that me mindset out of our business. We're getting the teamwork. We're getting people working together for the better good of the store because they realize that if it isn't enough in a small business, especially we're an independent dealer. We're a small business, right? You're a small business.
Yep.
It's not only good enough if you're doing well.
Right.
Because you could be doing well and the whole thing can be burning down.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in trouble. It's as important, if not more important, that those around you are succeeding as well.
Or worse, people feel like they're slaves to the job again. Yeah. Because the whole reason we're kind of starting a business of our own is because we don't want to be slaves to the corporate master.
Yeah.
And we don't want to feel like we're under the thumb of other people. And so making sure that everybody feels like they're winning with the team is very valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It just creates more buy-in.
Yeah. And that's and that's the culture that I'm fortunate enough to be in every day. And it's a culture that's very unique in our industry.
Yeah.
But soon it won't be.
So teamwork. From a sales, let's dive into this, Mike. I mean, everybody's gonna want to know this.
Yeah.
Top 3 tips for buying a vehicle.
Yeah.
You've bought vehicles while being in the industry.
Yeah.
Give me the rundown, 1 minute or less, like top 3 things you've got to look out for.
Yeah. Or that you have to look out for.
Or top 3 things when you walk into a dealership, this is how you have to approach it.
This is how you have to approach. If you allow yourself here, the first thing is show your cards. Show your cards.
You would say that, Mr. Salesman.
I would, right? But I'm going to tell you, and if The first thing is this. I'm assuming that the consumer is not walking into a place that they haven't already done research on. They haven't already looked at reviews. They haven't already seen that the vehicle's priced right or whatever it is. So let's assume those variables.
Yeah.
So you know the car, you're walking into a dealership. Be somebody that is able to be worked with. Because a lot of times,
don't be a turkey.
Man, don't be a turkey. A lot of times it's just like, man, if this person, this individual, this customer would just converse with us. Just converse. I could help. I could make your life so much. And here, I understand it. 10, 20, 30 years ago, the stuff you could get away with, you can't now. Yeah. Not that anybody wants to, but you can't now, right? Yeah. So like you come in with your, it makes it very difficult.
So
right?
be reasonable.
Be reasonable. Yeah. And before you walk into a place, make sure you're comfortable walking into that place, right? Make sure you've done your research or whatnot. When you walk in, if you are comfortable, be comfortable. Tell us what's going on. Work with, because a lot of people when they're buying cars, they're not just buying a car because they want a new car. They have a problem of some sort. I see. Most of the time, people are like, "Man, well, I need a new car because it's got 200,000. My other cars are 200,000 miles, or
I had a
my
job
car just broke down."
Yeah,
normally 8 out of 10 buyers, 7 out of 10 buyers they're not want buyers, they're need buyers, and they have a problem, right? So we're trying to solve this problem. And a lot of times we're trying to play this game where we're like trying to figure out what the agenda really is and what they're trying to, and like, cause we don't really know because they won't tell us. Right? Yeah. Well, it's like, well, I don't want to tell you. I don't want to show you my cards because I'll show you my cards and you're going to take advantage of me.
Right.
Okay. But in theory, you've already done your research. You know what you should pay. You know what? So that's not possible. Right.
Yeah.
So we can create this roadblock when we walk into buying a car.
I see.
I'm not saying to walk into a dealership uneducated and just say and do whatever the salesperson tells you. But if you're walking into a dealership and you are an educated consumer, which you are, if you're walking in and your guard is up, generally you are an educated consumer, you don't need to. Because you've already made the decision that this place is an okay place to do business at, right? Because you've already done your groundwork. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So that's the first thing.
So show your cards, be reasonable, tell your story.
Yeah. And so, that's the first thing. The second thing is if you just learned, and these orders, who knows, 1, 2, 3, whatever. If you were Googling last night how to buy a car, we know.
You already know my search history?
No, yeah, basically.
Because of if I tap on your website,
no. I mean the way that you're communicating about something.
Yeah.
So like, in your business, I'm sure it happens. You get the guy that, oh man, this guy knows roofs.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and then
they're saying language that the normal customers don't say.
Yeah. Oh, and then you have the normal customer that says some words, and you're like, oh, you got that from
someone
somewhere.
Cooked here.
Yeah. So we pick up real quick when you got the guy, the person who's like, who sort of knows what they're doing, and then it's like, okay, well that's fine, that's totally fine, but make sure. And I've watched customers or people just make horrendous mistakes because they sort of know what they're doing, but they're not 100% there.
Yeah.
And now maybe you can't walk into every store and here, you can walk into my store and just like, here's what I want to do. Here's what's going on. Can you help me out? And we're going to do it. We're going to do it morally, ethically. We're going to do it the right way.
Right.
There are some stores out there that don't do business the right way, not locally. We're the automotive industry in Peoria. We have great stores that have great operators that truly in central Illinois. I mean, they're pretty strong. I mean, they operate, pretty correctly, but it's not like that everywhere. And then all it takes is a couple of bad eggs, and it's going to create all these unnecessary, rigmarole and stuff like that, right? So,
I'd say the same thing in the roofing industry.
Yeah,
we have some solid operators, solid companies, where most cities are not like that.
Yeah. So I mean, if you've been doing some research last night or the day before, and it's not your normal, like we pick up on that, right? So like we know, and so it's not. Don't do that. Just. Here, what you know, and we know what we know, and let us try to help you. Know what you want, know what you want to pay, know what your vehicle's worth, for sure, right? Have a general idea, but allow us to try to help and understand you a little bit better, right? And because a lot of times what happens, Ben, is 8 out of 10 people, roughly 8.5 or so out of 10 people, don't end up buying the car that they think that they want to buy.
I see.
They end up buying something different.
I see.
And it doesn't mean that it's dramatically different, but it might not be it might be a different color. It might be, whatever else it is.
Sure. Different year, different make.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So we'll watch people and customers put themselves through a lot of heartache and headache, man, buying a car. And for me, I know I oversimplify it because I sell cars all day. So I'm just like, hey, you're just buying a car. But some things in life, like material things, like a car, shouldn't require dozens of hours and days and weeks of research and headache so that you can feel like you've made the right decision.
100%.
And if you're walking down that road, once you finally do buy it and you've done all that to yourself, you're never going to feel like you made the right decision.
So, dude, how many times you're just in a consumer's mind, you're a consumer of cars too. It's like, you don't want to get ripped off. It's your number one thing you want to protect yourself against is like, don't buy a lemon or don't buy $5,000 above what the price you should have paid.
Yeah.
Don't get ripped off on fees. Or like, you have all these conversations in your head of like what to watch out for. So you kind of come into the transaction a little bit cautious.
Yeah.
Something similar in the roofing industry is when people get insurance contracts. So let's say hail falls on a house and insurance companies pay for the roof to be replaced.
Yeah.
When that happens, Mike, the insurance company sends the paperwork for how much they're going to pay for the roof to the consumer. So the consumer will reach out to us and say, hey, I need my roof replaced. And we'll sit down with them and say, is this insurance or retail? And they'll kind of guard it.
Yeah.
They'll be like, well, I'd like you to just get a bid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, does that mean you have an insurance paperwork? Here's the rub. Let's say that roof is worth $10,000. If we bid it out for $8,500, the insurance company will cut the customer only $8,500.
Right.
They actually short the customer on the backside.
Yeah.
And so we need to know this information going into it to see what they actually claimed as damage, because they might have gutters or siding or other things that are paid for that we don't know about.
Yeah.
So again, we have so much experience now with thousands of deals with insurance. We know how to kind of talk through that process. And if they don't let us do our jobs, it makes everything worse.
Oh yeah.
And we've had many customers come back after taking it all on themselves. They screwed up. Yeah. And they're like, oh man, it's like, dude, if you just would have listened to me on day one, all this could have been avoided. Yeah. But they're just protecting themselves because they don't want to be ripped off by the roofing guy.
Yeah, because they read something somewhere that like, this is what you should do.
That's it.
And that's
some
kind of,
video.
Yeah. And that's what I was talking about, like with the Google, like we know, like we can pick up on it and it's here. I only want to sell vehicles to people that want to buy them. I never want to hear the high pressure sales, like coercing people. And, I talk about moving people. I don't want people to make decisions that they totally otherwise wouldn't. Sure. I want to help nudge somebody to make a good decision.
Yes.
And I truly believe, and this is going a little bit of tangent, I truly believe that people are better served buying a vehicle from me than anybody else. I really have that conviction. From my company, we're going to take care of you better. We're going to stand behind our product better. But you have to, in the frustration that is built when you're trying to help somebody. Yeah. And they just won't allow you to do it is incredible, right? Yeah. And so we have the same kind of issue when it comes to insurance, right? You have it with our body shop. Like, well, I don't, is this insurance or customer pay or whatever? I'm trying to guard that. A big thing is vehicle payoffs, right? So like if you Google, like, how do I get the most money for my trade? And it's going to say, well, make sure the dealer doesn't know what your payoff is.
I see.
And it's like, man, I can't do anything with that. Like, and it's like there's this whole thing because it used to be at one point, before information was so readily available, dealers would find out what your payoff was and just be like, oh, well, I'll pay your car off. And be like, oh, well, your payoff is $5,000, but it's worth $8,000. I'll give you $5,000.
I see.
Here, in today's world, unless in order to get ripped off buying a car or anything else, two things have to happen. You have to be completely oblivious to what's going on.
Right.
And you have to walk into a dealer that just is ruthless.
Yeah.
So both of those things have to happen and have to couple.
Good point.
And Ben, that's not happening, man. I mean, that's so rarely happening.
The reputation of the car dealership would be slaughtered.
Absolutely, man. And like, so it's one of those things where I don't want to call it an irrational fear because being ripped off can be $100 to some people. Yeah. And to some people it can be $5,000.
Good point.
So it varies for everybody. But yeah, we have the same kind of thing. Right. Yeah. So, guard certain information and it can make things muddy and it happens, right? So like if somebody's guarding a payoff on a car, but they're looking for what a payment's going to be and they want to know what their payment's going to be on a car, but I don't know how much they owe on their current car. Mm-hmm. I can't properly give them that. And sometimes we end up creating a false sense of hope for a customer because we don't assume a payoff. And well, here's what it is.
Totally.
And then the reality comes in. It's like, whoa, why can't? Well, yeah, I mean, if you would have told me that you owe $8,000 on your car, I could have told you exactly what the payments were going to be up front.
That's right.
But you withheld that information from me. So we kind of spent the last hour kind of battling a little bit, trying to pull that out of you. So it's the same kind of deal. And sometimes it's just like, man, somebody somewhere writes an article and it's like, if you get a hold of that, then it can create headaches, right?
That's where trust is so important in the marketplace and being forward.
That's why you got to have a guy.
You got to have branding and marketing and pushing your message of who you are forward.
Yep.
So that people can, without you even knowing about it, research you.
Yeah.
Be like, is this person trustworthy or not?
Yeah.
If I'm going to trust them with $20,000 for a vehicle or a roof, I better know who this person is.
And we battle that at Mid-Illini more than most dealers. Why? Well, I'm an independent shop. I don't have a multi-million-dollar showroom.
Makes sense.
We sell cars. You've been to our facility.
Yeah.
It used to be a car wash.
I see.
You know, when we tell people we sell 75, 80 cars a month out of it, they're like, what? You know, the franchise, certain franchise stores, they have multi-million-dollar showrooms. Some of them aren't selling that volume. So when you look at my store online or whatever it is, there's a legitimacy factor where it's like, these guys, they're a little smaller, they're a little this, and there can be customers a little bit more wary, right? Because of who we are and what we look like.
Are you guys
as opposed to like a franchise store where it looks fantastic.
Sure. Are you guys doing social media and showing off vehicles? Like, is that a very common
absolutely
now, like, new trend? Trend is an off term. It's been happening for years now, but is that something that's part of your arsenal?
Yeah. So it's not only is it part of our arsenal, it's probably the most important weapon in the arsenal. Yeah. Right. So sales in general is shifting, in my opinion, and the opinion of some of the industry leaders. Auto sales as well. I'm looking potentially to hire a fifth salesperson, and most dealers would say that I'm understaffed. I only have 4 salespeople, and we're selling 75 cars a month. They're like, "Whoa, you need 2 or 3 more salespeople." I have my theories as to why we don't. Whatever it is, it's time for us to go to a fifth, right? And what is most important when I'm looking to hire this fifth guy is not the guy who's a good salesman. I want the networker.
Yeah.
I want the guy or the gal who's got 5,000 Facebook friends.
Yeah.
Who's got a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Who's TikToking away.
Right.
That person who's networking is worth so much more than the guy who's the good salesman.
It's true.
Right? And 10 years ago, the salesman maybe was more valuable, but it's starting to shift. And I talk freely and openly. My highest volume salesperson, so we'd say, who's your best salesperson? We'd say, my best salesperson is the person who sells the most cars. Probably has the least, she certainly, and she'll admit it, has the least sales ability. But she is everybody knows her.
Yeah.
She's everybody's friend. Everybody knows her. Brittany's fantastic. Everybody knows her.
Shout out Brittany.
Shout out to Brittany.
Keep doing your thing, girl. Keep crushing.
She'll love it. Yeah. I mean, everybody loves her. She knows everybody. Her social media presence is fantastic. All 4 of our salespeople, their social media presence is fantastic.
Marketing is just sales with a megaphone.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah. You're casting a net instead of hooks in the water.
And by the way, like, how much do you pay for your Facebook subscription?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a wonderful number, right?
I tell that to roofing companies all the time. They're like, yeah, I haven't posted on Facebook. It's almost like a badge of honor. I don't market. I don't do Facebook. I don't do Google. I don't have any Google reviews.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. Are you proving a point, or are you just saying that out of pride?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to do something you're uncomfortable with.
Right.
How much more could you sell if you were marketing your company?
Exactly.
How much?
Yeah.
Is it worth double, triple what it is? I don't know. But if you're that good at these processes and these systems, these door-to-door and all these things, cool. If you utilize social media, which is a free tool,
that's what I was going to say.
Double it. Double it.
When we talk about marketing, so people say, hey, marketing or advertising this and that, and they go, well, how much is that going to cost?
Yeah.
Well, don't worry about the parts of it that cost money. We spend money advertising too. Don't worry about that yet. Yeah. Are you maximizing the free channel?
The free brand.
Or the close to free?
That's right.
The close to free, right? Because nothing's really free. It costs time or effort or whatever it is, but the close to free channel.
Sure.
And if you're just doing that, I mean, here we do. So like we talk about, where, and I'm sure you do too, right? Mm-hmm. You sell a roof to somebody. Does that make sense? I sold a roof.
Yeah.
You say that. Hey, we sold a roof today. Yeah. All right, cool. I want to figure out the lingo. Yeah. The lingo. Yeah. We sold a roof today. Heck yeah. Right. The nomenclature. Right. So, we sold a roof today. So you go back and you go, here, how did we sell that roof?
Yep.
From where? From what source? Yep. Yeah. From whatever it is. So like we track repeat business, referral business, self-generated and stuff like that. And in fact, like we pay a premium to our salespeople if they generate the lead and sell the car.
Same.
Right? Because it only makes sense.
Because that's the power.
That's it. That's the whole thing. So
I don't have to do any work for it.
Yeah. So now here we went from, 2-3 years ago where our repeat customers always been great, but our referrals and stuff weren't the best and our self-generated wasn't the best. And, we've gone where we've gotten to a point where we're at like 30% referral or self-generated, right? From 2 years ago, it was maybe at 10%.
That's fantastic.
And we're increasing, to continue to try to increase that, right? So like, here, you're going to spend money on advertising. Maybe not you, the proverbial you.
Yeah.
Why not spend that money to your employees?
That's right.
Why not pay your employees to advertise for you?
Yep.
Right. So like, we'll leave here today. Right. And you go, maybe you do a little research. You go on Facebook, you search Connor Hall, connect with Connor, Jessica, Alec, right? Luke Cross, right? Cruise with Krause, Brittany LeVue, Buy from Britt, Jessica, Stress Less with Jess, right? And you see this branding of all these people, and we're out in the open. We stand behind our product, we stand behind everything it is. And all that stuff you see cost little to literally nothing.
That's right.
And people just don't do it.
Yeah.
They just don't do it.
Well, I think the number one factor for social media and posting yourself online for business is the courage to be judged by other people. It goes back to what I said a while ago. People get skittish about speaking in front of others.
Absolutely.
And I just had a roofer call me this last week, Mike. He's like, I want to start my social media channel. I want to start doing this. He's like, what suggestions do you have? And I was like, just do it, man.
Yeah.
Just to like point the camera. I said, what do you like to do? Like, is it bow hunting? Is it, what is it? He's like, yeah, I do like hunting. I'm like, cool. Post a 30-second video of you cleaning your gun.
Yeah.
And on the number one thing that happens when you clean your gun. And then say, hey, does anyone else experience this? And I bet you'll have 10 comments within an hour of people saying, oh yeah, I do this, this, and this. Yeah. So like connecting to your public around you in that same culture reference, right? Like I play pickleball. I post a lot about pickleball and my kids and stuff and just how I live life. People will message me and be like, yo, I saw the video of you doing this thing. They didn't even comment on it. They'll message me or they'll talk to me in public. Dude, I saw you do this thing. It's like, it relates to them.
Yeah.
So that's important because then they remember you. Oh, that's the guy who has tiger pants and dances. You know what I mean? So having the courage to be judged by other people is a weapon.
Absolutely.
It's a weapon.
Absolutely.
Because, dude, it doesn't matter.
No.
Their opinion is irrelevant if you're stepping into your identity of who you are.
Right.
They can't judge me enough to change me. It's just not possible. So
Right.
judge away.
Yeah.
I'm going to still keep going. Just unfollow me. That's fine too. But my point is that people want to do this and they lack the courage to do so. So I want to be a megaphone for that to say, believe in yourself.
The second thing,
Come on.
Yeah.
Just do it.
And here, my social media presence, I was actually talking about it with ownership this morning. And it's just like, here, my social media presence isn't the best. I'm working on it. And here, doing things like this isn't something I would normally do.
But Mike, if you posted about your sobriety,
yeah.
You know how many people would message you and say, bro, I've been struggling with alcohol. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I already get that without even posting it. Yeah, no.
Now,
So,
you don't have to be like a grandstander, right?
Right.
We know that, you know what I'm saying? But like just saying frankly what you're talking about or making a quick video and saying, hey, I struggle with addiction and I kicked it 4 years ago. I'm really proud of myself.
Yeah.
People will be in your inbox, bro.
yeah.
I want to buy a car from this guy.
Yeah. No
you know?
kidding. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
and not even about the sales, but just about the personal development and who you are as a person. It even makes you more confident to be like, this is my story and I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not here. I love even all the blunders and everything. I love it all. I look back and I look at even like the worst times in rose-colored glasses. It's hilarious. Like man, that was I was close to maybe never rock bottom, but pretty dang close. And I'm like, man, it wasn't bad. It wasn't too bad, right? So
I made it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, every beautiful story has a period where the person fell on their face flat.
Oh, of course.
And
Of course. And
So
normally multiple times.
Yeah.
Or like at least very, very close.
it's relatable.
But
It's life.
in the when it comes to the social media stuff, and we talk about here, you post like pickleball.
Yeah.
You have to do that, right? Because you
Mix it
can't
up.
just business,
That's right.
and then you are unfollowed.
Have you ever heard of the strategy of jab, jab, hook?
Yes.
Okay, Gary Vee, for
Yeah.
the listeners, it's basically jabbing. So when a boxer goes into a ring and he's trying to fight the other boxer, he's jabbing to kind of get distance and feel the person out. And then they hook when they feel confident and they've had some jabs thrown. In social media, if you're only hooking, which means to sell,
Yeah.
if you're only doing this, have you ever seen a boxer come out and just start hooking constantly? It never happens, right? So you need to jab your customers or jab your culture that you're trying to build and actually connect with people
Yep.
on a personal level. And then once it comes time to sell something, it makes it that much more relatable and lands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much is out there for little to no cost at all.
Yeah.
That can be taken advantage
And
of.
what are we doing anyway, Mike?
Yeah.
Are we working
No.
60 hours a week welding
No.
at an undersea ship in
No.
the Atlantic? Are we doing that?
No.
Let's be really honest. When people say they work really hard, like I get it because I work hard too in sprints. Like I work in sprints and I work as hard as I possibly can sometimes. But like I'm not crossing the Rio Grande. Okay.
Right.
I'm not like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like I'm not building a house literally with my own hands.
Right.
Okay. So you're not working as hard as what you could. American culture, we've come a little soft on that. Yeah. I think we need to bring back hard work in that sense of like, yeah, you're not doing things because you're just lazy, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Ooh, that's a tough word, huh? That's a tough word.
Maybe. Yeah. Sometimes I'm lazy too.
Could be. And there's another thing too, and I do talk about this, and it's also because people get discouraged if they don't see immediate results.
Yeah,
right?
Speak on that.
When you talk about brand building and you talk about your social media presence, stuff like that, and it's like, okay, all right, I'm gonna tip it to the water. All right, I do my Facebook post, and then nothing happens. Like, see, told you,
it didn't work.
Told you, it wasn't gonna work. Yeah. So it's like, all right, so there isn't a level of importance to finding immediate success. I talk about whenever you're trying a new initiative, I say, here, we got to try to find immediate success. We got to make it happen.
Yeah.
We got to find immediate success, because if you do find that immediate success, it'll more likely hook.
Sure.
But a lot of people who don't do social media or stuff like that, like myself, right, or to the extent that I would like, and I'm on there, but not as much as I would like.
Sure.
But it goes beyond just I'm nervous or I'm afraid. It goes, I'm discouraged. It isn't working. It isn't working. But it's all working. It's all incremental.
I talked to a marketer. His name's Tim Brown. Shout out from Tim Brown from Hook Agency. He does SEO, YouTube. He has a following online, and we're friends. And he said, don't discount the silent watcher.
Yeah.
The people who will never post, never like, never comment, but silently watch you in the background.
Yep.
That if you said that you became sober 4 years ago and you were at rock bottom and now you're happy and you're encouraged and you have this momentum in your life, they're going to go home and be like, oh man, that really impacted me. But they'll never say that to you.
Yeah.
There's people that do that, Mike.
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I'm a lurker.
I watch other people and I'm like, yeah, dude, that guy's awesome, or that guy stinks, or, like Dallas Cowboys coach, best of luck. But I'm silently lurking that.
Yeah, I'm a lurker for sure, man. You can't show your cards.
Yeah.
Unless you're walking into a car dealer.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody just called me this last week. Like, dude, I saw you at the podcast. I'm like, you never commented or like my stuff. He's like, I was like, I should have you on. I'd love to have you on, but he was never forward to say that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those things where don't discount the people that are silently watching you progress, and don't think that they're judging you harshly either, because they're not. And if they are, who cares?
Yeah,
who cares?
And that's the most the silent person.
Yeah,
can be the most valuable, but also the most dangerous in business, right? The person who's got a problem that doesn't let you know.
Yeah,
the employee who's got something going on and they're not letting you know. The customer who's not vocal and they're upset, right? That silent type of consumer or person or whatever it is, it can be valuable, but it can also be a very dangerous place.
100%.
So
it's been fantastic having you on, bro.
Yeah, right on. This is cool.
This is cool. What's one thing you want to leave the people? 30 seconds, just lay it on them. What do you want to say?
What do I want to say? Man, come buy a car at Mid-Illini, right? We'll treat you right. If you are looking for a pre-owned vehicle and you want a good experience and you want to go somewhere where people, care about you, who've been there a long time, we don't have turnover. We've got all the same faces. Do some research, look up my people on Facebook and social media. Connor Hall, Jessica Allig, Brittany LeVue, and Luke Cross. These are just great, fantastic people who'd be more than happy to help you guys out. Awesome. And I would be too.
Awesome.
That's it.
Mike, thanks for coming on today, man. It's been great talking to you.